Starting off the countdown, we have the pigs. In 2013, 16,000 dead pigs were found in Shanghai's Huangpu River, which is what supplies the city's tap water. Now, officials were all like, yeah, it's still safe to drink. Meanwhile, the water turned brown and dead pigs were just floating in it. Now, some of the pigs had died from a common disease that normally affects pigs. Luckily, it can't be transferred to humans. Others were dumped there by illegal pig farms. It was a very disturbing and gruesome discovery. This water is one of the city's main water sources for its 23 million residents. And obviously, officials received a lot of backlash and people didn't want to drink the water, no matter how safe they said it was. In our ninth spot, we have the parasite. So there's a parasite that can literally nestle its way under your skin and then live there. This is known as Dirofilaria repin. It typically infects dogs, cats, foxes, and other animals. But it turns out that they can be transferred to humans too. For example, it can be spread by mosquito bites. And then this worm will live in your tissue under your skin and can continue to grow there. This is what happened to a Russian woman. Basically, she discovered a small lump below her left eye, and she didn't really think anything of it. That was until the lump moved. It moved to right above her eye. The next thing you know, she had a bump on her lip. That's when she sought medical attention, and turns out she had this thing living under her skin, moving around her face. The worst part is that she has no idea how she got it. Moving on to number 8, we have the dog's lick. In 2018, Greg Mantifel's life changed forever. He was a loving dog owner who loved spending time with his dog. However, it led to him getting admitted to a hospital. Turns out he was infected by a bacteria called Capnocytophaga. How did he become affected with this? Well, he got it from his dog. In particular, it was spread when his dog was licking him. In the end, it led to the amputation of his legs and parts of his arms. Apparently, this bacteria lives in most household pets without a problem. But if it gets passed to a human by a bite or scratch and it spreads through a person's bloodstream, that's when it can become deadly. Coming in at number 7, we have the water wars. As much as a quarter of the world's population now faces severe water scarcity at least 1 month out of the year. And it's believed that by 2030, a drought could put up to 700 million people at risk of displacement. And that's what they are preparing for. Due to climate change, places in the world are facing increased droughts. Due to overpopulation, more people are having trouble accessing water. Scientists believe that in the future, there will be a water war. People with power will try to get their hands on as much water and start a war over it. American scientist Peter Gleck says that there will be 3 types of water conflicts. One is the trigger, the thing that starts it. That's when the disputes break out over access and control of water. Then you have weapon, where water or water systems are being used as weapons in conflicts. For example, dams, using dams to withhold water or flood downstream communities. And lastly, you have the targets, where water resources or treatment plants or pipelines are targeted during conflicts, maybe even destroyed. It's very scary to think that our life might come to this. Moving on to number 6, we have the increased floods. Now, scientists obviously don't want us to worry, but there are a lot of things we need to worry about. For example, the increasing number of floods some places are going to face. This is a picture taken in Tewkesbury, England. A once popular child's playground is now seen submerged underwater. This was due to 2 nearby rivers flooding because of climate change and unpredictable weather patterns. Scientists say that in the upcoming years, we are going to be hit with more unpredictable and extreme weather, such as more floods, droughts, hurricanes, etc. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the walruses. If you're an animal lover like me, then brace yourself because this next image is going to hit you hard. So walruses, when they need a break, will rest on land or ice, but they prefer to take their little breaks on sea ice. However, over the last decade, the ice has been melting, forcing thousands of walruses to haul out on Alaskan beaches. This is what you're seeing here. Thousands of walruses resting on the beach. This is not natural at all. We are destroying their home and way of life. In 2014, over 35,000 walruses were resting on a beach near Point Lay, including 36 dead ones. Later, 50 dead walruses were discovered. Margaret Williams, managing director of the Arctic program at the World Wildlife Fund, said, and I quote, "The massive concentration of walruses on shore, where they should be scattered broadly in ice-covered waters, is just one example of the impacts of climate change on the distribution of marine species in the Arctic. We need to change our ways of life before we kill off walruses for good." Coming in at number 4, we have the 3D printed skin. It's crazy how fast we have advanced with our technology. In a short time frame, we went from black and white TV to high definition TVs with surround sound systems, and cell phones that are like literally mini TVs. And now scientists have found a way to make skin. In 2017, scientists created a 3D bioprinter prototype that was able to produce fully functional human skin. The skin can then be grafted onto or into patients where need be. First, it's skin. Next, it's gonna be human organs created by this device. I mean, it's impressive, but it's also quite scary. Coming in at number 3, we have the human head transplant. So scientists are currently working on a way to transplant one person's head to another person's body. And apparently, successful transplants have already been completed with monkeys, dogs, and rats. They take the decapitated heads and attach them to a new body. However, the animals haven't been able to control their new bodies since they didn't reattach them through the spine. In 2016, an Italian surgeon claims that he successfully performed a head transplant on a monkey, but due to ethics reasons, it had to be euthanized after a short while. Is this the direction medicine is taking us? Apparently, there are a number of willing human volunteers, so more experiments will be performed in the upcoming years. Moving on at number 2, we have memory loss. So you know the neutralizer used in the movies Men in Black? It's the device used to wipe out people's memories. Well, scientists have created something like that in real life. Basically, scientists are working on creating a device to wipe the human brain of specific fears or memories or phobias, even PTSD triggers. They are doing this by using a combination of brain scanning technology and artificial intelligence. Basically, the SparksNotes version here is that they will scan the brain to identify patterns that resemble a specific fear memory and then just wipe it out to make the patient feel neutral. Voila, no more fears. Only problem is, what if this technology gets into the wrong hands and people use it to manipulate other people's brains? And in our number 1 spot today, we have the robotic surgeons. In 2016, a robot performed the first surgery by itself. Now, the surgery was performed on a pig, but it was successful. So scientists and surgeons are coming together to create robotic surgeons. They believe that robots will be able to perform procedures far more accurately than humans. There's just a few problems with this. 1, let's not have robots take over our jobs. 2, robots can glitch or go haywire, and we really don't need that if they're doing life-saving surgery. Like imagine malfunctioning during open heart surgery. No, just no. Starting off this countdown, we have the remote control bullfight. Spanish neurologist Jose Delgado has managed to control wild animals by using electrical stimulation. So in 1964, he put himself in front of a 250-kilogram fighting bull, and then he enticed it. The bull came sprinting towards him, but with the click of a button on his remote control, the bull stopped. This was due to the fact that he had placed radio-controlled electrodes in the bull's brain a few days prior. This dude literally found a way to tame wild animals, which might seem cool, you know, but that's all we need, humans interfering more with nature than we already have. Coming in at number 9, we have the elephant on acid. On Friday, August 3rd of 1962, a group of Oklahoma scientists decided to give an elephant LSD to see how it would react. So they filled a syringe with 297 milligrams of LSD and inserted it into the elephant's bum. Now, 297 milligrams is a lot. Like, that's 3,000 times the typical human dose. Why did they give the elephant that much? Well, they literally thought we better go big or go home. And as a result, the elephant went mad, like literally insane. He got highly aggressive and was secreting a sticky fluid from its temporal glands. They tried to save the elephant with antipsychotics, but sadly it died an hour later. They're not sure if the LSD itself killed it, the dosage, or the antipsychotic. Still, this experiment was met with tons of controversy. In our 8th spot, we have the two-headed dog. In 1954, a man named Vladimir Demikov decided to graft a puppy to the neck of an older dog. Why? Well, he claims this was part of a series of experiments to figure out better surgical techniques. His goal in the end was to be able to successfully perform a human heart and lung transplant. So he practiced this on dogs. In total, he created 20 of these two-headed dogs. He would do this by grafting the head and shoulders and front legs of a puppy onto the neck of an older dog. The dogs were able to simultaneously eat and drink, but the things that the puppy ingested would just dribble out the back. Of course, sadly, none of these dogs lived very long. Most of the time, it's because of tissue rejection. The longest one of these two-headed dogs ever lived was for a month. Coming in at number 7, we had the conversion. In 1954, James Old and Peter Milner decided to try and get homosexual males to become straight. They tried to do this through electrical brain stimulation. Basically, they would stimulate the pleasure sensor areas of the brain to see if this would lead to sexual arousal to someone of the opposite sex. They tried this with a patient they referred to as B19. He was a gay man. But using the electrical stimulation in the brain, they got him to engage in sexual activity with a willing female participant. But it's not like they converted him forever. He still had gay tendencies, but also he liked women now. So they got him from being gay to bisexual. Thankfully, after this, they didn't try to convert any more homosexuals. That is highly controversial and wrong in a number of ways. Moving on at number 6, we have the dogs' heads. What's with mad scientists and their sick tendencies to practice experiments on dogs? It all started with a Soviet physician, Sergei Brokoniko. He wondered if it was possible for someone to still live after their head had been chopped off by the guillotine. So he created something known as an autojector, basically a device that could keep a head alive while being separated from its body. He started by running experiments on dogs. He would chop their heads off and then attach this device to them. And he was actually successful. He managed to keep a dog alive while using this device. The dog would respond to stimuli and eat when it was given food. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the test subjects. For 20 years, Dr. Albert M. Kligman used prison inmates to test a number of substances on. Some weren't so bad. They were just shampoo or deodorant, foot powder, etc. But then he started to test more dangerous things on them, like poisons, mind-altering drugs, and radioactive isotopes. He did so to study how the human body would react to such things. Later, it was found out that he was specifically targeting black men and was running highly unethical experiments on them. These men didn't have a say in what was being done to them. In our 4th spot, we have the depressed monkeys. Again, we have another sadistic scientist out here torturing animals. This one ran experiments on monkeys. So a man named Harry Harlow decided to see how strong a baby's connection is with their mother. For these experiments, he used baby monkeys and their moms. Here's the thing. He had this disturbing machine that would force monkeys to mate. Then he would basically torture the baby monkeys. His most controversial experiment was a device he called the Pit of Despair. Basically, he would place the newborn monkey in a small isolated chamber for periods up to a year. No contact with any living creature whatsoever. The monkeys ended up having serious problems that they couldn't grow out of. In our 3rd spot, we have sand fleas. Sand fleas are pretty nasty creatures. They will burrow into your body and then produce eggs inside of you. And it takes 4 to 6 weeks before they actually die inside of you. Just the thought of these things gives me the creeps. Well, turns out that researchers didn't know much about their reproductive lives. So a researcher decided to let a sand flea live inside of her foot for 2 months. Yes, she willingly did this in the name of research. No, thank you. The only thing worse than bugs are bugs inside of your body. But I guess this experiment paid off because she learned so much about the insects this way. And that, my friend, is called dedication. In our 2nd spot, we have Stanley Milgram. Chances are maybe you've heard about him and his experiment in psych class. If not, buckle up because it is wild. So Stanley Milgram's test set out to test our obedience to authority figures. Participants were told that they were to deliver an electric shock to a person in the other room. The shock started from 15 volts and ended in 450 volts, so the amount administered would increase. However, they did not see the person that they were giving the shocks to. And don't worry, the person wasn't actually getting shocked, but they didn't know that. And as they were giving these people the shocks, they could hear them screaming and crying in in pain to get let out. They wanted to see if the person would listen to their own instinct and be like, this is wrong, let the man go, or if they were going to continue to obey the authority figure that they were listening to. The results were shocking. Pun not intended. MILGRAM found that a full 65% of the subjects administered the final and fatal 450-volt electric shock. This was done despite showing that they were uncomfortable doing so. Now, there's a lot that we can learn about this experiment. You should watch videos on it after this video is done. It's quite dark, but interesting, but also disturbing, so maybe don't. Like, that's why it's on today's list. Anyway, and in our number one spot today, we have the tracking device. In 1999, the first radio frequency identification device was implanted into a human. Now, companies, prisons, and hospitals have FDA approval to implant these into individuals. Companies could do so with their employees, prisons would implant them in their prisoners, and hospitals their patients. From there, they can track where these people are going. In fact, a Mexican attorney general already got 18 of his staff members chipped. It's creepy and it's controlling, and I'm not ready to go down that path.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the discovery of penicillin. Sometimes miracles happen when nobody is looking. That's the key. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin back in 1928. At the time, he was actually studying Staphylococcus, which is a bacteria that causes infections and boils and all that nasty stuff. But right before Alexander left for a 2-week vacation, he left a petri dish with some of that Staphylococcus behind. He left it on the lab table rather than stored away in an incubator. Now, during his well-needed time off, a penicillium mold spore just drifted in there magically, either through the window, up the lab stairwell, some Horton Hears a Who type commute, and the temperature of the room and lack of one Alexander Fleming allowed for the mold to fight back, furthermore preventing that bacteria from growing. He literally changed the world. He discovered this antibacterial substance, and it was only produced by the strains of penicillium. Thank you, or else we'd be a little uncomfortable. Number 9, mass extinction. Are we part of the 6th extinction? Is it happening right now all around us? Most likely. We lose thousands of species each year, and when looking in the past, asteroids and ice ages, sure, they have all something to do with massive extinction level events, of course, but after humans invented the wheel and then discovered fire, things started to change. We kind of caused a lot of bad stuff. In the 1800s, industrialization drove up extinction rates and continues to do so. According to Elizabeth Colbert, across the world, scientists every day are monitoring what could be the largest extinction event since the dinosaurs. That's us, since the dinosaurs. It's like dinosaurs, T-Rex, and then us, equally as bad. What do you know? Arms are a bit longer now, but still, we're up to no good. The way human beings interact with the environment and affect biodiversity could be more deadly than an asteroid hitting the Earth. That's pretty eye-opening. With an ever-climbing list of endangered species, Colbert and the world asked one question. Is it too late to change it? Like, are we screwed? Most likely, but we can do our best at this point. Okay, let's move on to something a bit lighter so we don't feel like complete trash. Sounds good, let's do it. Number 8, monkey business. Okay, this study done back in 2016, I had to include it because in a list of unsettling things, this definitely fits. This is the most unsettling thing I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, that includes finding out you're part of a mass extinction level event. This one's right beside it. You ever see Planet of the Apes? The voice acting, the motion capture, Andy Serkis, he kills it. All those dots on his face, really good. The voice, nails it. It's like Caesar, it's very deep. I can't even do it. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing Planet of the Apes movies. Well, it turns out in real life, they would sound even scarier than that. Research done back in 2016 showed that macaques have a vocal tract capable of speaking. The lucky thing is they just don't have the brain power to do so, or else they would sound like this. Will you marry me? Didn't hear it? Let's hear it again. Will you marry me? Will you marry me? That's the scariest thing. Imagine a macaque saying that to you. I would politely say, no thank you. I'd be like, no, I'm good, man, thanks. Also, your voice is so deep. Is that laryngitis? What's that? Some vitamins. I was doing fine before I heard this, so I had to bring you down with me. You're welcome. Hit that thumbs up, and also, will you marry me? Number 7, human sacrifice. Archaeology is fascinating, but the digger we deep into the earth, the more we find out about our past. Most of the time, that's not so fun. Our past is pretty shady. Usually these findings are horrible. Not too long ago, we found the remains of a 3,000-year-old skeleton in Greece. They found the skeleton on the side of Mount Lycaon, which historians know as the site of animal sacrifice for Zeus. Ancient writers mention this site and how human sacrifice was also at play, and thanks to technology, we can now confirm that this is indeed the case, sadly. The upper part of the skull was missing, and the body was laid on 2 lines of stones, so it wasn't accidental. There were even stones laid on their pelvis, so something was going on. We look at Greece, of course, as the birthplace of philosophy, democracy, and 100-meter hurdles, and, you know, the 100-meter dash, all the Olympic stuff, that's great. But they also did some sacrificial, shady shit in their off time when they weren't slamming some Merlot. Science has allowed us to take a look all over the world as well, not just Greece. Ancient Egyptians, Aztecs, sometimes after Mayan ball games, sometimes the losing team would just be sacrificed. Yeah, good game, good game, good game, good game. Are we getting sacrificed? No, okay, good. Good game, good game, good game. Everyone talks about how awful humans are now. No, we were pretty bad always, even before we knew how to speak words or what the sun was or what the moon was. We're like, you know what? I don't know what any of this is, but all I do know is that we gotta kill each other. Number 6, whale cancer. The big C, oddly enough, doesn't affect big fish. What do you know? Well, we do know that the risk of cancer increases as you age, but the amount of cells that you have surely has something to do with it, right? So large animals like whales, obviously they have a few more cells laying around. They're a bit husky, they're a bit bigger. You would think that the odds of whales getting cancer would increase. But the reality of it is that whales and dolphins are way less susceptible to cancer than us humans. We still have no idea why. Maybe it's because whales sing a lot? I don't know, maybe if we sing to each other instead of talking and killing, we can maybe beat cancer. I don't know, worth a shot. Let's just start singing like whales. That's how we'll communicate from now on. We'll just go, and then someone else will be like, good, thank you. Number 5, MKUltra. This one always gives me the chills. Many of you have probably heard of this at some point, but if not, well, buckle up. MKUltra was a secret CIA project that lasted from 1953 to 1973, where they ran hundreds of experiments to US citizens without them knowing, and they gave them LSD, narcotics, anything in attempts to crack mind control, or as they called it, information gathering. It's like when Apple's like, yeah, we're just gonna gather some info real quick. When we talk to Facebook, we're just gonna gather some information. They're spying, definitely. It's bad shit. In the 50s and 60s, around the Cold War, the United States believed that the Soviets, Chinese, and or the North Korean agents were using mind control. I mean, sure, how else could you explain brainwashed prisoners of war in Korea, right? That's gotta be the only explanation as to why they're acting that way. Nothing else to do with it. The program had subjects take LSD, hallucinogens, they had electric shock therapy at one point, horrible stuff and all, and it was being done in universities, hospitals, and prisons. The happenings of this project weren't fully known to the public until years after it ended, but the agency destroyed most MK documents back in 1973 when it ended. So we think we know, in reality, we probably know nothing, Jon Snow. Number 4, skin problems. This is a specific case that I had to share. A Russian lady found a small lump below her eye, her left eye to be specific, and at first she didn't think much of it, but eventually this lump was gone, which is a good sign, but then a new lump had appeared later on. This time it was on her lip. Odd. So when she went to go see a doctor about this lip problem, which is new and the eye problem's now gone, they removed a Dirofilaria repens, which is a thin worm. Crawls around in the face. Hence why the bump was disappearing and then reappearing later on. It was moving around. I just got goosebumps talking about that. Now, normally this type of worm only affects animals, dogs, cats, foxes, anything like that. They spread through mosquito bites as well. So next time you're in the woods smacking your arms, I dare you to not think of this. Good game. Number 3, particle accelerator. This list is full of unsettling things. I mean, I hope. I think they're pretty batshit insane. But this next one actually concerns me about our future. I don't mess with science. The at-home volcano trick where you like put in the vinegar and it goes poof, I don't do that. That's even scary for me. What if one experiment could hypothetically swallow our known universe? Would we do it? Sure, sounds fun. Why not? What have we got to lose at this point? Sir Martin Rees, Britain's royal astronomer, shines some light on a dark possibility in his book titled On the Future. The particle accelerator is this massive machine that does exactly that. It smashes these charged particles together at a high speed, all in the name of science. We're trying to further understand condensed matter physics, and while it sure sounds impressive, what if it goes south? What would happen? Well, it could destroy the world, apparently. These particles smashing together could create this strange matter that shrinks Earth down to 300 feet in diameter. Or it creates a black hole, one of the two. A black hole would just suck away all of our existence, or we'd be little tiny people. Thanks, Martin. Now I won't be able to sleep because I'm thinking of particle colliders and Freddy Krueger. Both are equally as haunting. Number 2, no more insects. This one I wish I didn't know. Ignorance is bliss, folks. But we're kind of doomed. No easy way to say it. And so is the bug spray industry, apparently. The world is losing insects, which if you're a little kid or if you're me, sounds like a good thing at first. I don't like bugs. Any bugs. But when scientists tell us that the world has 70% less bugs than it did back in just the 80s, well, that's pretty concerning. Unsettling things scientists don't want us to see. I mean, this one they probably don't mind us taking a peek into. But we don't talk about this nearly enough. These buggy dudes are vital for our crops. The movie Interstellar, for example, is about our future and future humans running out of crops. So we should have been listening to Christopher Nolan this entire time. I knew it. Go watch Dark Knight, there's probably some clues in there somewhere. We're too focused on robots gaining the ability to do parkour that we're forgetting the sad science as well. And finally, coming in at number 1, mad cow disease. While we've got our hands full of this COVID madness, let me just add another one there to top you up. I stumbled across this Reddit thread here. It was titled, "Scientists of Reddit, what are some scary scientific discoveries that most of the public is unaware of?" Yeah, I read through a bunch of them, pretty scary, but I found this gem and had to finish the list off. One reply got lots of feedback, tons of support as well, and there's a great deal of people who just may be carrying around mad cow disease. But we won't know for another decade, give or take. So, sit tight. Stay tuned, I guess. Mad cow disease from the 80s and 90s was due to cows being fed the remains of other animals. Pretty horrible stuff. People then ate their beef and consumed prions, a protein that can destroy the human brain, and it's thought that many people still might carry prions but won't know until they start experiencing the symptoms, which could be 10 to 50 years after consuming said contaminated meat. It has a really long incubation period, and you can also contract the prions from blood transfusions, which is the reason why so many UK citizens from that time period still aren't allowed to donate blood. Fun fact, this is a very real thing. And to answer your question, no, there is no cure, and it can kill you in just a few months. How's that for unsettling?